You don't have to care so much about algorithm this, algorithm that. You just have to focus on what you can control. But it has nothing to do with the time. It has to do with the 500 presentation. You could show it to 500 people in 3 years and you would hit 6A in 3 years. You could show 500 people in 10 years and you would hit 6A in 10 years. My personal belief is if you have 100 people that are potential leads, one of them's got to say yes. One out of 100 is 1%. That is very low. There's a chance that you would have more than one. But let's just say that you had one out of 100. Do you feel confident that one out of 100 people would say yes? So the question is, how quickly do you want to have 100 people?
Tomorrow or yesterday.
That's
Yeah.
right. So now you have to create a plan of action between ads, between content, between DMs, between texting friends, between sending DMs on Facebook, every possible avenue that you could generate one more person out of the 100 in the next 24, 48, 72 hours. What is your plan of action? You're going to take a piece of paper and you're going to say, I'm going to film one ad or 5 ads, 10 ads. I'm going to turn that on for $10 a day. Step one, because that's the highest leverage thing that will be happening behind the scenes when you're doing all the other lead generation activities. At least the ad will be doing its thing. Make sense?
Yeah.
That's like the highest leverage. You start with that, turn that on first. Then the next thing is going to be following up with any potential prospects that have already shown interest, like we call that warm market. So someone who has some sort of previous knowledge or seen things, or you've had conversations with them, that would be like the second bucket to approach. Then if you have a certain number of followers on social media, putting out organic content and Facebook stories and Instagram stories is going to
Yeah,
be
trying to do it that way now, like a lot of organic, but I feel like my Instagram is rebranding. I changed into Dutch because I can speak more about it as well. So I feel like still I'm a bit in the runner vibe, so more the hobby vibe instead of the real business owner vibe. So the algorithm.
That's fine. You don't have to care so much about algorithm this, algorithm that. You just have to focus on what you can control. The next thing that I would do is I would spend some time making some research on who is your ideal client that you want to work with, and then go and find 100 accounts who match that vibe. Here's an interesting thought for a lot of you. You will probably resonate with this a lot, is when you look at who you follow right now, who are you most interested in following in your Instagram account? What a lot of people don't realize is they're following mainly people in Enagic, all kinds of different leaders, different communities, different ranks. And I think it's important to follow certain people like me. Just kidding. But you know what I mean? Like a few people. But what happens is if you follow too many and then you're watching all of their stories and you're watching all of their posts, you start to get a little confused and overwhelmed because you're like, this person's saying this and this person's talking like this and this person's saying that. And it actually kind of kills your motivation to make content because you're overthinking everything. You're like, yeah, but Johnny said this, and then Mike said that, and Sarah said that. They all said the same thing, but they all said it a little bit differently. Oh my God, what's the right way? Is it this way? Is it that way? Should I have this call to action? Should I do this? Should I put this in my bio? And you're like, it's game over. You're done because your brain is fried from overthinking all the different ways. But instead, if you actually follow the people that are potentially going to buy from you, think about how much more powerful that is. Now you're watching their stories and you're analyzing what they're talking about. And you're like, how can my products, how can my business, how can my compensation plan, how can my business model solve their problems that they don't even know they have? Because they're sharing that stuff on their content. So now you're in solution focus mode in your brain, watching their content rather than self-judgment mode, thinking you're not good enough, comparing yourself to everyone who's already in Enagic at a high level, who is like crushing the business. Because most people want to watch those people so they get to learn like how to make the sales, but usually that's not actually what happens. You end up getting a lot of like negativity from it, like you know what I mean, like discouragement and judging yourself and stuff like this. Does this make sense? So if you found 100 accounts that are your ideal client, then I want you to engage with them as if they were one of your friends. Like their posts, comment on their posts, reply to their stories, show that you are interested in them. And what will happen, let's say it's fitness people. So I help fitness coaches add five to $10,000 per month with a leverage business model. Let's just say that that's what you're doing. And now you have that description in your bio with a link to a web class or something. Yeah. And now you're interacting with fitness coaches, liking their commenting on their posts, liking their stories, replying to their stories, like showing you're interested in them, right? They're going to be like, who's this Anouk person? All of a sudden they keep showing up and they're always commenting on my stuff. Eventually, after a few times, what are they going to do? And
Look
click
on
on your account, check you out. Who is this? They're going to read the bio and be like, oh, shit, that's me. Maybe she can help me with this problem that I have. So it ends up being attractive like a magnet to pull them in. And if the description in the bio actually describes who they are, they're very likely to click the link in your bio and like check it out or send you a DM. Do you see how this makes sense? So you have to be very intentional about your activity on social media, or else you're just scrolling aimlessly, endlessly with all that stuff. If you enjoy scrolling, which is pretty much like a human condition at this point for society, I think everybody enjoys it to a certain extent. They like to be on their phones, they're curious of what's going on in the world. And, it's just like the way shit is. Let's just be honest. A lot of people, oh, don't scroll, don't scroll. You know what? Everybody scrolls. And if someone says they don't scroll, they're lying. Everybody scrolls to a certain degree, but you can also be very intentional with what you're scrolling and what the point of it is. You can make it worthwhile while still getting the scrolling that people enjoy doing. Scroll with intention, scroll with purpose. Don't scroll aimlessly, especially if you have no sales. You have no business scrolling aimlessly with no sales. You can scroll aimlessly when you're making 100 grand a month passively every month if you wanted to. You're not there yet. So scroll with purpose. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Okay. So within a certain window of time, this is another huge indication that a lot of people miss this. Okay, I really want you guys to take this and understand this so much. So Romy is our upline, right? He went -8. And Romy thinks he's such a funny guy. He's such a humble man. He's such a simple person, and he's a very simple guy, right? From what I understand. He's a very religious man, very Christian man, all this kind of stuff, which is fine. And he shares his story, and he says that in his first 90 days with an Agic, he hit 6A in 90 days. And it's because he showed the demo presentation to 500 people in 90 days. 400 of them said no, and 100 of them purchased a product. Real simple math. 20% said yes out of 100%, right? And you need 100 sales to hit 6A. And he was selling one product at a time back then. There was no trifectas or quads or anything. It was like mostly SD501s and one at a time, one at a time. He would do one-on-one presentations. He would do kitchen presentations. He would do group presentations. He would do presentations any which way he could. And he was doing a few presentations minimum per day. And all of them had multiple people like at them for the most part. Small groups, 5, 10, 15 people. So it worked out to be 500 people in 90 days. 100 of them said yes, he hit 6A in 90 days. Now here's the interesting thing. If you showed those same 500 people the presentation in 1 year, you would have hit 6A in 1 year. But it has nothing to do with the time. It has to do with the 500 presentations. It's making sense what I'm saying? So you can drag it out as long as you want. You could show it to 500 people in 3 years, and you would hit 6A in 3 years. You could show 500 people in 10 years, and you would hit 6A in 10 years. And a lot of people get caught up in this. This is how long I've been doing the business. I've been in the business for this many years. It has nothing to do with the facts of the results. The real question you should ask is how many people have watched the presentation in the time that you've been here. So if you want to get momentum, if you want to speed up the business, you need to take those people and show it to them quicker in a smaller amount of time. And what gets so interesting about this is I tell this to my clients in the blueprint, which is the next program I have for people at a higher level. And I said the smartest thing that somebody can do as they get 3A, 4A, 5A in an Agic is actually do a day of back-to-back calls. Like every hour on the hour or every 30 minutes and do 15, 16 calls in one day. And then take the rest of the week to enjoy your life is more productive than doing 2 or 3 calls 7 days a week. Because here's what happens. You get into the energy, right? The first few calls, you're maybe not super sharp. Maybe you don't get the sale. But as you get into call 4, call 5, call 6, you actually everything's fresh in your head. You're like, this morning I talked to John. John was telling me he really wants to be home with his kids. Then you have a story to tell on the next call. Hey, I just talked to John. I just hopped off the phone. Mike, let me tell you about John. John sounds a lot like you. He wants the same things. So you have leverage by taking other people's stories from previous calls and bringing them into your next calls because they all happen that day. So it's very fresh and you get a lot of momentum. And because of the repetition of saying the same stuff, asking the same question, handling objections, your confidence, your skill, your ability to make the sale improves and increases call after call after call. So by the time you're doing call number 10, you're freaking pacing around, you're fired up, you're ready to go, and you have no time to overthink, to judge yourself, to analyze, to say this sucks and you suck and question your life and all this negative stuff. You have no time. The next call starting, the next call starting, the next call starting. And then when you think about that, let's say you did 16 calls in a day, it's very intense. Like you're not doing anything. You're going to the bathroom, you're eating a little bit of food, and you're doing calls and you're going to bed. That's it. That's the whole day, right? But what happens is, let's say out of those 16 calls, you have 3 or 5 people who buy. You just had a $10,000 plus day in commissions. You get what I'm saying? So when you turn around now and you share the story of you had a $10,000 day, people who would not normally care, not normally listen to you, they all of a sudden start listening. Everybody with me? Now, once again, no one's going to say, how many calls did you do the day that you had a $10,000 day? No one's going to ask, even though you grinded, you were working for it, you were there. And you know what? 30% of the people that you talked to said yes, which is very average. You're not even like an incredible salesperson where 16 people out of 16 calls all said yes. 30% of them said yes, which is average. And you still had an over $10,000 day, which is very exciting. Now people will listen. Now you get momentum. Now they want to watch the web class. Now they want to learn more. You with me? So you have to do something above average, out of the normal to get people's attention because the boring results, you made this much here and this much there and it's inconsistent and all this, people just don't care. They don't have the time. It's unimpressive. I'm just telling you the truth. Now, you would probably agree that if you were the one who was looking for life-changing business and you were looking to pay off your debt or you were looking to change your financial situation, you are much more likely to listen to someone on social media who had an impressive result and go, huh, let me check it out. Instead of someone that says they made $75 this month in their new side business. Cool, good for you, man. I can't even fill my gas tank with that. See what I mean? So you can't be boring. But the only way to get that is to do something crazy, which is back to back to back to back calls. So that's to answer your question. So what I would do in your case, if you're working now full time, I imagine, is it Monday through Friday?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I would do if I was in your shoes is I would do calls on Saturday all day. And what you're doing all week when you're at your job is you're just trying to fill your availability for those calls on the Saturday. So all of your effort is, hey, on Saturday, I have a few open spots left to do one-on-one discovery calls to show you how this business could solve the problems you have in your life. I'm going to need you to watch one quick video before Saturday, before we get on the phone. And I'm going to book off this time one-on-one with you to show you a business opportunity, a business vehicle that has changed my life, not because I've made a lot of money, not because I've made a lot of sales, but because I know that this is the vehicle that will eventually set me free. And I'm on the path to learn how to do that. And you could be in the same situation. So it's very transparent. You're not lying. You're not making up numbers that you made money or anything. And then you just want to get people onto the phone on the Saturday. And then on Sunday would be your day off.